Hi everybody, welcome to Melissa's Kitchen. I'm your hostess, Melissa Murray, and this is my kitchen. So we're going to be making a really yummy recipe today. It's called crispy peanut tofu and cauliflower rice stir fry. So a lot of times when you have stir fry, you use rice, but one of the big things now is to use cauliflower instead of having rice. It's more of a low carb idea. So I've never made cauliflower rice before, so this will be our first time, so I'm excited to try this recipe. Come on over and let's go through our ingredients so you know what you'll need today. So the first thing you're going to need today is a 12-ounce extra firm tofu that has been drained and pressed. I have pre-drained and pre-pressed my tofu, so that's ready to go. For the sauce, we're also going to need 2.5 tablespoons of sesame oil. We're also going to use that for frying in the pan a little bit too. We're going to need a 1/4 cup of soy sauce. I'm using the dark soy sauce today, but you can also use a low sodium or whatever you happen to have in your fridge. We're going to need a 1/4 cup of our brown sugar as well. A 1/2 teaspoon of chili garlic sauce. Now again, I don't have chili garlic sauce, so we're going to use this sweet chili sauce that I have. So it's okay to swap out ingredients or omit some ingredients if you're not a fan of them. That's okay. And then we need 2.5 tablespoons of peanut butter. Okay, so we need 2.5 tablespoons of peanut butter. So this is not what we want to use. I don't know if you've been watching any of my videos previous to this one, but in one of my videos I talk a little bit about peanut butter. This is not healthy for you and not good for you, and we're trying to eat healthier. This is my husband's peanut butter, which he must have swapped out thinking that he would be funny. As I stated before, this peanut butter is full of fats and hydrogenated vegetable oils and things that we don't want. So I'm just going to get rid of this. I should actually throw it in the garbage is what I should do with it. And we're going to actually use the best type of peanut butter, which is our natural 100% peanut butter. Now, I'm going to say it again. We know this is the good stuff because of the ingredients list. It's important to look at the ingredients list, guys. So let's just look here. Let's get a close-up if we can here. Just roasted peanuts. That's it. Ingredients, peanuts. Right there, peanuts. You don't want an ingredients list that's longer than peanuts. So we're going to use 2.5 tablespoons of natural peanut butter today. Thanks to my husband trying to be funny. The other thing that we're going to be using today is, it says 1 small head of cauliflower. I just got 1 head here, and we'll decide how much of that we're going to use once we get to that step. And then we're going to use a bunch of vegetables. Now, vegetables are optional. You can use whatever vegetables you like or you happen to have in your fridge. So today, I had some leftover cabbage, an orange bell pepper, bok choy, which I'm not sure if you're familiar with, but bok choy is typically used in a lot of Asian dishes. It's actually really good. Bok choy is probably one of my favorites, and it's full of vitamins and nutrients. So I have some bok choy we're going to use. I've got some carrots, celery, green onion, and also red onion or purple onion. And I'm going to put some mushrooms in there too because I'm a fan of mushrooms. And we're also going to put in some garlic because I love garlic and try to add it to absolutely everything. So those are the ingredients we're going to need today. So we're going to start by preheating our oven. I've already done that to 400 degrees. And we're going to get our tofu ready to go. So we're going to just cube our tofu. So really simple. You can do it in as big or small cubes that you like. And I'm using the Tupperware Chef Series knife, which is extremely sharp and cuts through things really easily. I love this knife. It makes my time in the kitchen so much quicker. And as we cube it, we're going to just put it on a parchment-lined baking sheet in a single layer, just making sure that they're not touching because we want to make sure they all get nice and crispy. Doesn't have to be on there exact, but we want to make sure there's space in between them. Now, if you're not a fan of tofu, of course you can omit tofu. If you prefer, you could do a different type of protein as well. I do like tofu and find it takes on a lot of really great flavors when you add a sauce to it. So we will be using tofu for this recipe. Just gonna make some room here. Get these all on this pan. And again, if you don't want to use a whole block of tofu, you don't have to. You can always save some for another recipe. So now we're going to put those into the oven and we're going to bake those for about 25 minutes. You're going to find that that'll give it a nice golden brown color and they're going to get nice and crispy. So we're just going to put our timer on here for 25 minutes. And while that is baking, we are going to chop up our vegetables and make the sauce. So let's start by making that sauce. So we're going to get a bowl. I'm just going to move this over here. Okay. So 1.5 tablespoons of sesame oil. And this is going to give it a really nice flavor. A 1/4 cup of soy sauce and a 1/4 cup of brown sugar. And I'm using the Tupperware measuring cups and spoons today. I love these. They make it really easy. And I also keep my brown sugar in one of our modular mates. This is an airtight container, so it's going to make sure that anything you put in there is going to stay nice and fresh. So, like I said in previous videos, anytime you are measuring brown sugar, you're going to want to pack it down. So I'm just going to use a measuring spoon here. Make sure it's in there nice and tight. We want about a 1/4 cup of it. That looks like about a 1/4 cup, and put that right into our sauce. And you'll know you've done it right when it comes out in a form like that from your measuring cup. That's what you're looking for. And a 1/4 cup of our soy sauce. Then you can adjust this too if you find after you mix it it's not quite sweet enough for you. You can add a little more brown sugar, or if you want it a little saltier, you can add more soy sauce. You can adjust as you go. And 1/2 teaspoon of our sweet chili sauce. I'm probably going to add a little bit more than that because I do like the sweet chili sauce. So I think I'm actually going to do a teaspoon of it. And then 2.5 tablespoons of our peanut butter, our natural peanut butter. Just going to rinse our measuring spoon here. Okay. Now with natural peanut butter, because there's no other ingredients in there to make it smooth, sometimes the oil from the peanuts will rise to the top and you'll find it's just oily on top. Now I did mix this a little bit earlier, but I don't know if you can kind of see, it's kind of thin. The rest of the peanut butter down here is going to be thicker. So if you can mix it up a little bit to get it nice and thick, then that will work better. I also recommend when you store it, actually store it upside down because that way the oil will go up to the top, which actually means it'll go this way and it'll be easier to use. This was a new jar, so I haven't done that yet. And if you're worried about it leaking, put it in some Tupperware because our Tupperware, the round containers are have a liquid tight seal, so you don't have to worry about anything leaking and making a mess in your cupboard or your fridge. So 2.5 tablespoons of the peanut butter. That's 1. 2. And I kind of had a little bit extra on there, so we'll just put a little bit more in, and then that should be good. And then that should be our sauce. I am going to throw in a touch of garlic here. They don't call for garlic to go in the sauce. They want it to go in the cauliflower. But like I said, I'm a fan of garlic, so we're just going to put a touch of that in there too. Oh, that garlic smells amazing. Okay, we're going to take our Tupperware whisk, and we're going to mix this sauce up in one of our Tupperware That's bowls. This whisk is amazing because it's not going to scratch anything. And the That's bowl, as you can tell, has this nifty little handle here, which makes it super easy to hold on to while I mix the sauce together. Just going to stir it until it gets all incorporated. This is a very similar sauce recipe to the one we made in a previous video. So we're just going to mix that up there, and we're going to set this sauce aside, and then we're going to do our vegetables. Get rid of this stuff here, clean up a little bit. So our mushrooms, I did buy the ones that are already pre-sliced, so we're just going to leave those aside for now. And we're going to go in here and cut these. Now, because this is kind of a stir fry, some of these things I'm going to cut with my Chef Series knife, but we're also going to use a Tupperware product called the mandolin, which I have not used before, so we're going to do that together. Let's see, we can probably, I think we'll start with the onion and carrots. So we're going to peel our carrot real quick with our Tupperware peeler. This makes it super easy. This peeler is great because it just has really thin slices that it takes off your carrot. I don't know if you can see how thin that is. A lot of other peelers sometimes take too much and you actually lose a lot of your carrot or whatever it is you're peeling. So this makes it super easy. And because this is a stir fry, I almost want to julienne our carrots. Just going to move that aside. So this is our Tupperware mandolin. Extremely sharp, but it does so much. It cuts, it waffles vegetables, it does julienne slices, thin slices. There's so much you can do with it. It does have a lot of features on it. I know it can look a little intimidating, but it's actually really easy to use. If you can see here, this is, these numbers here mean the different thicknesses that your food is going to be cut into. And this is a safety feature here, which means it's locked. So you don't have to worry about cutting yourself when it's in the locked position. And it also has a nice little nifty handle here, which is great. So when you have it on your counter, you can hang on to it to make sure it's not going anywhere, as well as the silicone feet to help itself be stationary on your countertop or table so it doesn't move around on you. And the other thing it has is the safety guard. Very important to always use the safety guard so you don't cut any of your fingers. This safety guard, if you can kind of see here, this will pop up. So if you have a larger vegetable like a potato or something like that, it'll fit right in there. And then as it's getting down lower and lower, this actually moves down with it to make sure that absolutely every piece of your food is going to be cut and there's going to be no waste. So that's good to know. So because we're going to attempt to julienne, I'm going to put this dial on about a number 6. If you can see there, there's the number 6. And we're going to turn this, so you have to pull it out and turn. And there's a number 9, and you see when I did that, it brought up these very sharp blades here. But we're going to turn it to the 6. So you can see those are a lot closer together than the 9. So that, again, will depend on how thick or thin you want your pieces to be. So we're going to try that there. And I hope you can see how I do this. I'm right-handed, so I'm going to go this way, and hopefully you can kind of see what happens here. Now, like I said, I haven't used this before, so I'm not really sure if this is going to cut the way I want or what's going to happen. But we're going to try it together and have a good time while we do it. So you're just going to take this and plunge it down into, you're supposed to plunge it down into your vegetable, but I don't know if I'm doing it right. So I'm just going to put it on here, put it on top, and we're going to see if we can make this work. Okay. So my first cut through, it didn't work because it's my fault of not knowing how to use the machine properly. But you can see that it is cut it into strips, which is great, because if I was doing that with our Sharp Chef Series knife, it may not go as quickly as I want it to. So again, we're going to, as I said, you guys, this is the first time using it, so it's going to take a bit of practice. Anytime you're using something new, it always takes practice, right? But we're getting there. So we'll do that. We'll do one more here on this one. And if any of you watching have used the Tupperware mandolin, you have any tips or tricks for me and our viewers, please let me know in the comments, because I'm definitely open to seeing whatever anyone has to say about it. We're going to leave that for now. Let's try the onion. So we're going to see what happens here when we do the onion. See if this works any better. Okay, there you go. So that's better. The onion works better. And we're going to see what happens here with this. I don't know if that's cutting the way I want. I should probably switch it. Let's maybe try that. Let's see what's happening. I think it is, oh, look at that. Huh. So there's this nice little handy thing on the bottom that actually is catching all of my food. So I was wondering where it was going, but that's where it is. So as you can see, it's cut my onion into rounds, which is great for my stir fry. And it's all up to you on how much you want. I think this is probably enough of the onion, as we've got lots in there. And the rest I can probably do with the knife. So we're going to move the mandolin aside for now. So that is going to take a little bit more practice, but that's the way it is when you get new fun tools in the kitchen. It always takes a little bit longer to figure out how to properly use it and some tips and stuff to make it go smoother. So that's great, because you can tell I'm not a professional. I'm just someone having fun in the kitchen. So if I can do it, you guys can do it too. So don't be scared. Other thing we're going to do here is we're going to take these carrots that were julienne. Now these strips obviously are a little bit too long for what I want to do in my stir fry. So I'm just going to take my knife and I'm just going to cut them a little bit more here. And I think I might actually cut my onion rings into here. Ooh, but wouldn't that be good? Onion rings? Oh, that would be amazing. Maybe we should do that on another episode. Some maybe tempura battered onion rings. That sounds good. Okay. And then this last piece of carrot here that did not make it on the mandolin. We're just going to give that a few little slices. You can cut these any way you want. This is your stir fry, so whatever way you usually like to have your vegetables. But you can see how smooth that knife is going through here. Oh, and that's another thing I should tell you about the knife. I actually just learned with this chef knife, normally you hold a knife this way, but with these knives, it's actually supposed to become what they say an extension of your own arm. So if you actually put your middle finger here and your thumb and pointer finger on the knife blade like this, it actually becomes an extension of your arm. And that's supposed to be an easier way to cut. So I don't know if you can see that, but I just learned that on a different cooking webinar with Tupperware that I watched, and I thought that was really interesting. I'll leave those aside. Now bok choy, I usually just like to cut the ends off. And then these I just, again, kind of roughly chop. leaves and all. And the leaves will wilt down a little bit as you cook. Just going to cut our pepper here. Just going to put those into some rough cuts here with our pepper. And we're going to cook all the vegetables at the same time, so it's okay that they're all mingling on the cutting board right now. And cabbage, I just happen to have the cabbage in my fridge, so I thought, yeah, why not? Let's do some cabbage with it too. But if you don't like cabbage, by all means, you don't have to use the cabbage. And that's going to wilt down a little bit too. So I think I might actually, I'm just going to leave those in big pieces like that. I like to have some big pieces in my stir fries. So that's all good. Got all that. The green onions, I'm actually going to use these as a bit more of a garnish. So we're just going to kind of leave these on the side here of the cutting board. So they don't get mixed in too much. And we've got our mushrooms. Like I said, you don't have to buy the pre-sliced mushrooms if you don't want to. Whatever you happen to have or pick up in the store. So I'm just going to leave those open and we can decide how many mushrooms we want to throw in when we get to that point. Okay, so I think at this point we've still got about 9 minutes on our tofu. We're going to take a quick break. I'm going to tidy up just a little bit here in the kitchen, and then we're going to come back and we're going to get the rest of the recipe done. See you soon. Hey everybody, welcome back. The oven just dinged, so let's check our tofu and see how it looks. So as you can see on the edges there, it's nice and crispy. So we're just going to let this sit aside here and cool down. So while that's cooling down, we're going to start cooking our vegetables. So in a large pan, we're going to put the heat to about medium. We're going to put a dash of that sesame oil in the pan. Just a little bit. Because don't forget, some of the vegetables have moisture in them, like the mushrooms will be quite a bit of liquid once it starts cooking. And we're going to put all of our vegetables that we cooked. You can hear the sizzle already. We're going to put those in the pan here. And it may look like a lot, but like I said, things like the cabbage and bok choy are going to cook down quite a bit, and the mushrooms as well. Just gonna give that a bit of a stir here. So you're just gonna want to have these cook until they're tender. If you find that you have a really hot stove, just make sure you're paying attention to your heat and adjust it as needed. So you don't have to stir it constantly, but every once in a while you're going to want to come and stir it. So while that is going to be cooking down there and getting tender, we're going to rice our cauliflower. Now, like I said, I've never riced cauliflower before, so we're going to try this together and see what happens. So I have a head of cauliflower. Now it says to use a small head of cauliflower. This is quite large in my opinion, but I'm not really going to know how much we need until we start ricing it. So we're just going to open it up. Don't forget to stir your veggies as needed. If you listen to your vegetables, they'll tell you when they need to be stirred. There's a different sound that happens in the pan. So as long as you're paying attention, you should be just fine. We're going to take our Chef Series knife and we're going to cut some of the cauliflower off. Now because this knife is so sharp, I just went right in there and cut off the stalk. So if you can come in a little closer here, you can see what I mean. You can kind of see where the pieces are. and just take your chef knife and go in, and they're going to break right apart. So you're just going to do that with the cauliflower. Now, in order to rice your cauliflower, a lot of people will use a food processor. I do not have a food processor because I think what I have is much better than that. And I'll show you here in just a second. I've used it before in other videos, and it's probably by far one of my most favorite Tupperware items that we carry and sell. And that is called the Power Chef. I use this all the time. I just used it this morning actually, making a different recipe, which I'll probably showcase on another episode of Melissa's Kitchen. Just gonna give these a quick stir. You can see the vegetables are already starting to cook down. You can see there it's getting a little wilted on that bok choy. They're starting to get soft. That's what we're looking for. So this is very similar to a food processor, as it has 3 very sharp blades. It has the silicone ring on the bottom to help it so it stays in place on your counter. And we're just going to pop in some of this cauliflower into our Power Chef. And like I said, I've never tried ricing cauliflower before, so I don't know what's going to happen here, but we're going to try it. And we're going to put our lid on. It's got little indentations here in the lid. You can see right behind my finger there, all the way around. And on here, there's also a spot for those to go to lock it in place. So you're just going to want to make sure you do that turn so it's locked in place. It's not going anywhere. And then you're just going to put your hand on top, grab the little pull string, and if you watch really closely in here, you'll see what happens. Done. Look at that, guys. Look how quick and easy that was. That's amazing. So you're going to want to pull it until it is about the size of what rice grains are going to look like. So I would say that's pretty close to looking like rice to me. So that was about, I don't know, maybe 1/3 of the head of cauliflower. I'm going to do a little bit more just because we can always, you know, leftovers are always good. I'm going to stir this here a little bit more. Oh yeah, these are really starting to cook down. You can smell the flavors of the vegetables. Nice. So I'm just going to dump this into this bowl for now so we can do some more. Look at that, all the way to the bottom. Can you see that? All the way to the bottom there. It's just, looks just like rice would look, except it's a much healthier option. So we're going to put some more cauliflower in. I don't know, we'll probably end up using the whole head, I'm not sure. But again, you can use as much or as little as you want. Maybe we'll just use that much and save the rest here for another recipe. That might be a good idea too. So it all depends on, you know, how many people are in your house and how many portions you're going to want. So you got to make sure that this is straight, otherwise this part doesn't fit in properly and then you have issues, which is what I'm having right now. There we go. So I can't remember what it was. I think one pull on this string is equivalent to about 64 cuts with a knife. So just imagine how long, if you actually had a knife, it would take you to rice your cauliflower. Whereas with this, it's done. Just like that. Super quick and easy. So we're going to set that aside. We don't need this cauliflower right now. We're going to set that aside too. We can use that for a future recipe. Give our vegetables another quick stir. You can see they're really starting to cook down and get nice and tender, more flexible. Mushrooms are starting to brown nicely. Now again, you can cook these as long or little as you want. If you like your vegetables really crispy, then you don't have to cook them for that long. If you like them more on the soft side, it's all up to you on what kind of texture you're looking for in your stir fry. Now I think our tofu is probably cooled down enough. Just going to put this on in case the pan's still hot. We're going to go back here and find our sauce that we made earlier. And we're going to take our tofu and we're going to put it right in the sauce. The nice thing about these batsa bowls is they also come with lids. And because it's a round lid, I know that it's also liquid tight. So I can put the lid on and feel confident that when I do this, I'm not going to get sauce all over myself or my kitchen. So we're just going to shake that up in the sauce. And we're going to leave that aside here to marinate a little bit while we let these vegetables finish cooking. There we go. Okay. Now we're going to take these vegetables, because they're about cooked where I like them to be, and we're going to actually take them off the heat, but we're going to want to keep them warm. So we're going to use another batsa bowl, and we're actually going to put the lid on to keep them nice and hot. Make sure you get all your veggies in there. And we're going to actually use this pan again. Our pan's still really nice and hot. I'm actually going to turn it down just a jiff. So I'm not going to put the lid on the veggies right now because you can see there's still a lot of steam in here. If I put the lid on too soon, then that extra steam is going to really cook our vegetables, probably to the point where we don't want them to be cooked that much. So we're just going to leave the lid off. If they start cooling down too much and we're not quite ready to use them, then I'll put the lid on. But we actually might not have to because they seem really hot right now. So now we're going to use a little bit more of that sesame oil in our pan. Just a dash. We're going to put some garlic in there now. Now it calls for 2 cloves of garlic. I just grab a spoon here. I love garlic, so I'm just going to kind of put in what I want. You can hear that sizzle because that pan's still super hot. And then we're going to take our cauliflower that we riced in our Power Chef, and we're going to add that in. And the rest of it. Actually, that made a lot. That actually probably made way more than I needed. So I think I'm just going to cook. Actually, we'll probably just cook that much and leave the rest here for another day. And we're just going to cook this until it gets a nice brown color and tender, which shouldn't take too long because it has been riced. So you know what, I'm going to probably put on there, let's put the timer on that. Let's put the timer on for, let's put it on for 5 minutes. We're going to stir it occasionally as we go. I'm going to move this pan out of the way, and we're going to grab another pan. Going to keep that up there, and we're going to do our tofu in here. Now, I have this on just a little less than medium heat. I'm going to cover it at this point. Now, I don't have a lid for this pan, so I'm just going to use good old tin foil just to help keep some of that steam and heat in there. And like I said, we're going to check it occasionally and stir it as we go. So now we're going to go back to our tofu. Now it's been in here for a little bit. You can always leave it marinate longer. If you wanted to even do it the night before, you definitely can and leave it in there, but you can see they're all nicely coated. We're going to use a slotted spoon because we don't want too much of the sauce here. We just want the tofu as much as possible. It's okay if there's some sauce, but try to save that sauce because we're going to actually add that sauce into our riced cauliflower and vegetables here in a minute. And we're just going to put these in the pan. They're not going to need to go in this pan for very long. I just kind of want them to get a little caramelized with that sauce. Last time I did this, it did not take long at all, actually. So that's it. We're going to just caramelize those. We're going to let that cauliflower cook. We're going to save this sauce here because we're going to use it in just a little bit. So we're going to take another quick break, let all of this stuff get to the point where it's ready to be put together, and then we'll show you plating. So we'll see you soon. Welcome back, guys. Come on over and have a look here. So while we were on a bit of a break, I did add in just a touch of sauce, honestly not that much, into our cauliflower. And as you can see, it does look quite similar to brown rice. So that's really exciting. And then in this pan we have our tofu, and you can see that it's getting all caramelized. So that's good to go. So we're going to turn off our burners on that, move that off the heat. And I did also put just a tad sauce. I know it looks like a lot, but I honestly didn't put much in there, into our vegetables, just to give them some flavor too. And I actually have some sauce left over. So, I mean, you definitely can use all the sauce. Usually I love all the sauce, and I'm a sauce girl, but this is quite a bit, and I'm surprised how far that went. So now we're going to go into our plating. So we're going to just clean off our spoon here real quick. And we're going to start by scooping some of our riced cauliflower into our bowl. Now again, you can do as much as you want, depending on how hungry you are. And then we're going to go in and put some of our vegetables on top, just like that. And finally, we're going to top it off with some of this crispy tofu, again, as much or as little as you want. And don't forget the garnish, that's very important. So we're going to garnish today with some sesame seeds. Just going to sprinkle some on top, and some of our green onions, just for a nice fresh look. And there you have it, crispy peanut, tofu, and riced cauliflower stir fry. I hope you guys enjoyed this video today, and I hope you'll try this recipe and leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. And like I said, if you have any tips or anything, please share those with me as well. Thanks so much for coming to my kitchen, and we'll talk to you next time. Thanks for watching. For more information about healthy recipes or Tupperware products, please email me at tupperware.by.melissamurray@gmail.com or visit my website, melissamurray.my.tupperware.ca. Thanks for watching. See you next time.